whose side are they on? Let's begin. The article says that a frustrated motorist dragged eco-zealots out of the road yesterday only to be detained by heavy-handed cops. 2 officers charged at him and handcuffed him as a third looked on, with none of them tackling the just stop all yobs, block and rush hour traffic. Around a dozen banner-holding protesters faced the traffic as they walked slowly backwards across Blackfriars Bridge in central London as drivers on their way to work honked their horns. Footage shared online shows the unnamed man walk into the road, grab one of the protesters and throw him to the floor at the feet of police, talking to a passerby. As he went after another man in the demo, 2 police officers then piled into him, forcing him in the path of a delivery truck on the opposite carriageway. And as they grapple with him, one cop is heard telling him, "You effing assaulted people." They then pinned him against a van blocked by the protesters, with the occupants yelling at the officers to get off their vehicle. A passing taxi driver then shouts that the cops, or police, if you live in this country, actions were absolutely disgusting. A local builder told The Sun he's a hero, he did the right thing. The Met Police yesterday insisted that officers responded proportionally and confirmed the man had not been arrested. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Lawrence Taylor said the man was handcuffed to prevent further breaches of the peace. We will review the evidence and interview the male, with a review to further police action as necessary. The demo was 1 on 3 on key London bridges at 8 AM yesterday, with flashpoints at each. Police said they completely understand the frustration caused, but urged the public not to get involved.
GTO for 61 active will get you.
Well, they're just not getting it, are they? The public wouldn't have to get involved, if the police actually did their job and uphold the 1980 Traffic Act, I think it is, which as far as I'm aware states that people shouldn't be blocking traffic. So therefore, police surely have the right to move these people off the road. And let's face it, it didn't seem to have any problem doing that with the King's coronation, did they? But of course, after that, they've just gone back to their old ways, it seems, in making them cups of tea, possibly. Which just makes me wonder, how long will it actually be if they're perfectly happy to watch this potential offence carry on under their nose? What other potential offences could they possibly let happen in the future before they decide to tackle anyone? Could it be robberies, murders or whatever else? I mean, you can just imagine it, can't you? Yes, I saw it was. I got it in my notebook. It was Mr. Blobby, Your Honour. And yes, of course, I know that peaceful protests are allowed. However, if someone is standing in the middle of the road or walking very slowly backwards whilst traffic is being held up, then that's hardly peaceful, is it? Especially if it causes a lot of anger and frustration with the people who are being held up. Because let's face it, fuel isn't cheap nowadays, and all the while we're not able to go somewhere, we're using more of it, aren't we? And yes, I know, before some smart ass says in the comments, "Oh really? Well, you can turn your engine off, Oh, I hate the smug one." Just remember that, yes, whilst that is true, we shouldn't really have to do so, should we? We should just be able to drive wherever we want, but I don't really see what these people's problem is. I mean, I know that they don't want us to use oil and would rather us probably cycle or walk or maybe even use electric cars everywhere, but at the end of the day, there's presumably going to be a 2030 ban on all new petrol and diesel vehicles, so everything is slowly going their way, isn't it? As far as they're concerned anyway, so what do they want us to do in the meantime? Stop all traffic until then? Although something tells me they don't, because I'm guessing they probably wouldn't be able to get to many of their demonstrations otherwise, would they? A new, fairer system of motor taxation is needed in the UK, according to a leading think tank which argues that drivers are being let down by overbearing policies. A new report, The Future of Driving from the Centre of Policy Studies, suggests that a fuel duty and vehicle exercise duty, VED or road tax as it's otherwise known as, should be scrapped and replaced with a new per-mile charging system. This would give allowances to motorists who live in rural areas to ensure fairness, as they would generally have to drive long distances to gain access to goods or services. The report argues that the per-mile system should initially only apply to electric vehicles, which still pay less than their petrol or diesel counterparts. A new study, which is based on extensive polling and group work, argues that a smarter approach is needed for motoring taxation, as drivers have been seen as cash cows by authorities. UK drivers paid around £33 billion in fuel duty and vehicle exercise duty in 2021 and 2022, although the government only spent £5.4 billion on national roads and £6.4 billion on local roads in the same period. According to the report, 88% of the miles travelled in 2021 were by car, van or taxi, showing how the UK is a nation of drivers. The pay-as-you-drive scheme for zero-emissions vehicles would be a more suitable way of motor taxation, in which a scenario would then see them charged a flat rate for every mile they drive, and everyone would be given a set allowance of tax-free miles every year, with a limit of miles being higher in those in rural areas with fewer transport alternatives. Well, this certainly raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? I mean, first, how is it going to be policed? Are they going to trust our word and let us tell them how many miles we do each year in a form or something like that? Or maybe they might actually want to fix one of those little black boxes in our car which tells them how many miles we actually cover. And unfortunately, it will also tell them where we go as well, no doubt. Which I don't know about you, but where I drive, that should be no one else's concern apart from mine, because however else will I get there? And it just seems that lately, especially over the last few years, that the government or companies snooping has just gone way too far nowadays. People do have a right to privacy, and it's about time they understood that. So I personally think that any rollout of something like this is going to be a massive invasion of that. At the moment, us petrol and diesel drivers actually do pay tax as we go, don't we? Because there's lots of tax on fuel as it is, not to mention normal road tax. So if they want to do something like that, surely they'd just increase the tax a little bit on fuel, wouldn't they? However, let's face it, that's not exactly going to paint them in a good light, because we pay the highest tax on fuel in Europe, apparently. So something like that would actually be a disaster, and does actually make me wonder that if it's only being tested on EVs at the moment as some sort of guinea pig trial, and the public uprising against them about any possible black boxes installed in their vehicles becomes too much, could we then see an even higher rate of tax on our energy bills to compensate for that? Or maybe public charges if not them, but either way, it just doesn't look good for us motorists, does it? Unless of course you are under the limit and therefore pay no tax at all. But who knows what that limit is going to be? Now that of course it'll be something stupidly small, like maybe 100 or even 1,000 miles a year. Before, of course, you then have to start paying road tax. Or sorry, pay-as-you-go tax. Which makes me wonder, actually, if it will turn into some sort of pay-as-you-go phone-style route. In which case, would they then start to include bolt-ons of, like, a set price of 500 miles, 5,000 miles, or whatever? Netflix has unfortunately announced that it will begin cracking down on subscribers who share their membership beyond their households from today. The company is sending emails out to rule-breaking customers across the US and UK from today, so keep an eye out on your inbox, folks. For us in the UK, it's £4.99 per additional member. The streaming giant has been warning about a new crackdown for months. They said a Netflix account is for use by one household. Okay, they might not exactly said it like that, but that's how it comes across. Everyone living in a household can use Netflix whenever they're at home or go on holiday, and taking advantage of new features like profile transfer and manage access and devices. Starting today, though, we'll be sending this email to members who are sharing Netflix outside their households in the United States and United Kingdom. The email warns users that their Netflix accounts are strictly for people who live with and no one else. It says you can still watch the Netflix app on the go or when you travel. If you're persistently sharing your device with other people outside your home, you need to take action. If you don't, the Sun understands that your non-household users will have their access revoked. Well, no doubt, of course, this is going to pee off quite a lot of people, especially my girlfriend, because I'm guessing in a few days' time she might put on Netflix and find a giant middle finger on the TV screen. Because let's face it, like the kind boyfriend that I am, I'm not paying a penny more to Netflix, whether my girlfriend likes that or not. And whatever happened to Netflix's famous love is sharing a password tweet? I mean, let's face it, not only have they U-turned on that, but £4.99 a month is certainly a lot higher than the rumoured £2 monthly fee increase, which to be honest I could have actually understood and probably would have paid it, but whilst I may come across as a bit of a tight ass, I think an extra £5 is probably a bit greedy, because that's as far as I'm aware the price of Netflix's base pack with ads. So if someone is using someone else's Netflix account, or maybe even sharing the cost of it with them, that presumably means that they either can't afford the price of a membership by themselves, or obviously maybe they don't actually want to pay that much and are trying to save money. But either way, something like this may cause a lot of people to just up sticks and leave, because at the end of the day there are certainly a lot more streaming services out there than ever before, aren't there? And none of them, from what I know, have any similar password sharing restrictions. So yes, admittedly, whilst you can understand in truth that if a company is providing a service, they do expect everyone who uses that service to pay for it, because it wouldn't be great business sense otherwise. But at the end of the day, it may actually cost them a lot of customers. I personally think a much better system would have been for them to provide a device limit of say 6 or 10 devices that an account can use a month regardless of what household they're in. I mean, Now TV, or Now as they're rebranded as, does the same thing. They provide 6 devices for accounts to use, and if you want any more than that, I guess you're going to have to set up a new account, aren't you? And therefore they'll get the money that way, wouldn't they? Although if Netflix's new Crackdown is a success, it just makes me wonder how soon it will be before other streaming services do follow suit. And you know, personally, I think it's a massive kick in the gonads for their customers. And if anything, in this video, kind of seems along the same lines as TV licensing's recent change. Anyway, subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.